Welcome to Hannah's Heart.
So Hannah, she's just one of the women who did struggle with infertility in the Bible.
No matter who we are, we can be inspired by the fact that Hannah took her pain to God, and God heard her and was with her.
So when she was praying at the temple, she had been weeping and not eating, and her lips were moving, but her eyes were closed, and the priest was like, "Hey, why are you drunk at the temple?"
It can become an obsession when you want a child so deeply.
And desiring that baby and to be a mama. Every holiday, every Mother's Day.
This is not a show that's going to promise you a certain outcome, but this is a show that says, however God answers your cry, we know that He's enough.
Hey, I'm Ann, and you are listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio. And I just thank you so much for listening in. If you're a new listener or if you've been here for every episode, I thank you for being here today. If you are new, we are a show, a program that is named after Hannah in 1 Samuel. She struggled with infertility and desiring a baby for a long time. And then when she had her prayers answered, she committed to give that baby right back to the Lord. And she went through with that and kept her promise to the Lord as He gave her the desires of her heart for that baby. And so we thank you for being here today. If you are walking through infertility or miscarriage, or you've walked through child loss, I'm sorry that that's part of your story. But I hope I can be there for you in a way that maybe others couldn't, because I've walked through each of those things as well. And so I'm just here to offer hope through Jesus and remind you that there is hope because of heaven. Today, I am the only one behind the mic here in the studio today, but I have some sweet call-in guests from Tennessee, and this is going to be actually part 2 of their story. As this comes out, you probably, if you're listening in last week, you would have heard part 1 last week, and so we're going to talk about part 2 today. They shared why they're on the program last week of losing their daughter, Katie Beth. And so I encourage you to go back and listen to their story, because we're going to talk about Katie Beth some more, but we're also going to get into the ministries that they have started since Katie Beth. So Amy and Jason, are y'all with us?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much for joining us to do a part 2 of this episode. We can only fit so much information in 26 minutes, so we needed a little bit extra time for you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We're honored to be here.
Well, thank you so much. So we were talking about, before we went on air, we were talking about where we might start. So we were going to share about Katie Beth and maybe do a little rundown of her story, and then talk about how you've gotten to know Katie Beth even through people telling you stories after she passed away. You've gotten to hear just her impact that she had on people's lives that y'all didn't even know. So go ahead and tell us about those stories and about your girl.
Yeah, so Katie was just a real sweet girl. She loved people really well. She was very intentional about just being kind to people. She had some of her own struggles throughout middle and high school with people being unkind, and so she really kind of went above and beyond to try to be loving and kind, and just lived her life well. She wasn't the best of the best at anything, but she did, she made good grades, and she was just very kind and respectful and all the things. And so really in the aftermath of Katie's accident, there was kind of this hashtag that started going around as some of the people she had interacted with in her short 18 years started posting things and remembering her, and the hashtag was Live and Love Like KB. We called her KB for short. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of became a thing, at least in our area, for a little while after her accident. And we just, got to thinking about the way that she lived and loved. It wasn't anything, major or unique in any way other than just loving people well and living her life well.
Mm.
And man, if more people in this world would do that, what a different world we would live in. And even some people reaching out to us with messages and stories of how I met your daughter at a dance competition one weekend, and I was feeling very down and even suicidal, and she spoke to me and prayed with me and just encouraged me and, really made a difference in my life.
Wow.
Stories like that we had no clue that she had even done those kind of things, the things that I'm sure she didn't think were anything out of the ordinary or something that you shouldn't do, She just would love people well, strangers, especially if a kid was sitting by themselves in the cafeteria or something. She was the kind that would go and sit with them. And so just in the aftermath of that, we were like, we felt like the Lord was stirring things in us. Of course, we wrote the book, but also just that, hey, I'm going to give you ministry out of this, that you're going to be able to minister to others through this story. And so out of that was born what we currently have as Live and Love Ministries, which is our nonprofit ministry that we started and launched out of that hashtag Live and Love like KB.
I love that. Love that so much. So you started this ministry, and there's different parts of the ministry. Do you mind going into detail of what all you offer through this ministry?
Yeah, so we like to call them the 3 M's. We have marriage, and I'll just say them and then I'll talk about them. We have marriage, and then we have missions, and then ministry to bereaved parents. And the marriage piece, I'm a licensed minister, so I officiated a lot of weddings. But Amy and I both love to walk with young couples, and we do a lot of premarital counseling with young couples and try to help them just start the right way. And we have really a heart for that and for marriage. The missions piece, and at the end of the book, if you were to read the book, we tell the story of a school in Nicaragua that is named after Katie Beth that was kind of birthed out of the leadership class at her high school.
Oh, wow.
That's a longer story than we have today to talk about, but it started with 30-something kids that first year that it was built and started, and now we have over 300 that have begun this school year.
Oh, wow.
In 2025.
In Nicaragua.
First grade. Yeah, Nicaragua,
Wow.
First grade through 11th, and very impoverished community. And we lead a team every year in June down there to serve in that community and on the campus. So that's really the missions piece. And then lastly is ministry to bereaved parents. We do a monthly support group in Chattanooga, Tennessee for bereaved parents, specifically through a ministry called While We're Waiting, which is based in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we also help facilitate retreats. We partner with While We're Waiting and help facilitate some of their retreats throughout the year. I think last year we did 5, and this year we have 4 on the books currently that we will be facilitating for bereaved parents.
Wow, because I don't remember the current statistics, but statistics go up of divorce, for couples after they lose a baby or a child. So I know that's so needed because, my husband and I, after losing our baby in 2023, you just grieve differently. And so many, goodness, it's so confusing. And as wonderful as it all is of knowing that God is still good and we're still supposed to praise him and all the positive things that we know as Christians, when you're walking through it, I don't know how it is for y'all, but it definitely doesn't necessarily feel like that as you're, in the depths of loss.
Oh, absolutely not. And even we just had our support group this week, and we have, some people that are struggling with that in their relationships, their marriages, because, we do just grieve so differently. Fortunately, in the immediate aftermath of Katie Beth's accident, we had someone who said to us, that had walked through losing a child and said, listen, you're going to have to give each other grace because he's going to grieve differently than you do, and vice versa. And like, that's okay. But I can see how it could so easily become a real dividing line for couples because we do just process it all so differently. And so that's definitely, we have a heart for, like Jason said, marriage and ministry to bereaved parents, which actually kind of a lot of times can go hand in hand. We're doing marriage ministry to bereaved parents at the same time that they're walking through their grief.
Now, if someone, isn't local, can they still be involved with the marriage counseling or with the bereaved parents, or is it like face-to-face stuff?
Yeah, so While We're Waiting is actually, they have retreats and support groups all over the country at all different times of the year. And so I would suggest if you have lost a child to miscarriage or stillbirth, that you go to whilewe'rewaiting.org, and all of the information about their retreats, which, by the way, the retreats are completely free for bereaved parents to attend.
Wow.
They have them all over in different locations throughout the country. And then the monthly support group locations and meeting information can be found on that website as well.
Okay.
And, man, that organization and that ministry has been such a blessing to us. And I know there are people out there in your listening audience that would benefit from that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that most of those support groups are face-to-face, but I know they have at least one or two that are probably on the website that are actually virtual. So people could actually be a part if they don't have anything in their local area.
Okay, that's so neat and so needed. Okay, and we talked about this, I think, off air, but a lot of my listeners are, waiting on a baby. A lot of them when you're walking through infertility. And so we consider the waiting on a baby here. But y'all, this ministry that we're talking about, we're now talking on the other side of that. We've now lost a baby, lost a child. And so we're talking about waiting for heaven, to be back with that baby. And that's such it's a painfully beautiful, statement. But I thought that was really, really neat to think about being on the other side of what we normally talk about at Hannah's Heart in the wait. We're now waiting to see our babies, our little kids, big kids in heaven. So, goodness.
Yeah, and the heart behind that really is, what will we do while we're waiting? What will we do with our pain in the waiting? Because obviously, if I could be with Beth today, not to be morbid, but I would choose that. I would love that, and to get to experience heaven. But I'm here, and so while we're waiting, how do we honor their life, and how do we honor the Lord in the way we live our life, even in our pain and even in our waiting?
Right. Well, you guys, if you're just now tuning in, I'm in a conversation with Jason and Amy Carter. They're authors, and they have started a ministry after losing their daughter. So keep listening in for more. We've talked about the school in Nicaragua, and we mentioned on the other episode about a butterfly release. But do you mind kind of going more into detail of what that looks like?
Yeah, so one of the things we do each year in honor and memory of Beth is we actually have here in our local community, we call it the Butterfly Festival, and it's a big family-friendly, community-wide event with, lots of things for families to do together, from vendors to inflatables, petting zoo, face painting, all the fun stuff.
Wow.
Katie loved that kind of stuff. She was just a family person. She loved family game night, all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of a way to honor her. It's a good little fundraiser for our ministry. We're not a big ministry, but we definitely have some financial needs throughout the year as we host these retreats and different things. And so This is our one fundraiser that we do each year, and we even started doing a little 5K with it. But at the end of the event, the very last thing we do is a big butterfly release, and the kids kind of gather around in the middle of the field. We typically have the event here at our high school where Katie went to school, and we release the butterflies, and the kids just love, watching the butterflies fly out, and some of them will land on them and that sort of thing. And of course, butterflies have special meaning to us. We, I think, mentioned that in the first episode about just being a God wink for us, and just a reminder that, the Lord takes care of us and he sees us, and that he's not forgotten us.
I love that. We, I think we shared with y'all off air, but we have now started. We hope it to be a yearly butterfly release in October, in honor of babies, women that have had miscarriages and walking through infertility, that kind of thing. But yeah, they'd just be sweet reminders. I know y'all have your special story of the butterfly kind of following you at Katie Beth's graveside, and while y'all were there that day, and then, probably countless stories now since, but the day that we buried my baby at his graveside, at John Micah's graveside, our pastor, the whole time he was talking, had a butterfly on his leg. And then even I left before John Micah was buried. I didn't want to stay for that part, but my husband, he did want to stay until everything was finished. And our pastor stayed with him, and some of his best friends and our dads and stuff. But he said that they ended up noticing the butterfly still on our pastor's leg until they were done burying John Micah. So yeah, the God winks are just such a sweet thing, and I don't know.
I'll just throw this in there real quick about butterflies. I saw a quote one time, and it's always stuck with me, and it says, "Perhaps the butterfly is proof that something beautiful can come after a season of darkness."
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
Just thinking about the caterpillar going in the cocoon and the darkness that's there, and, just the transformation that happens during that. It's just a sweet reminder, that he does give beauty for ashes, and he does bring something beautiful, or he can, out of our darkness if we'll allow him to make that exchange. We'll make that exchange with him.
Yeah, that's definitely true, saying, if we'll allow him, because, we have people, I've had multiple families to reach out to me after John Micah passed away about, helping with funeral arrangements and just kind of, like the next steps, of what you kind of start doing. But the families that have the hope in Jesus and that are willing to now use such awful, circumstances, and you can just tell they carry themselves differently than the families that don't have that hope in the Lord, and it just makes me, goodness, so thankful for our faith, and that we do have the hope in the Lord that we do. And then, to encourage anyone who might be listening to this to, if you have walked through such loss, and that weight is still on you, it possibly even, years later, if you haven't fully surrendered that to the Lord and just given that pain to him, I just encourage you, if there's any way that you can today, he will lift I'm not saying that grief ever goes away. I'm sure Jason and Amy, y'all can speak on that too. I don't know about you guys. Ours was 2023 when our grief started. Y'all's, I think, was 2016. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so I know I still have random hard days where it's all of a sudden the sun was shining through the clouds a certain way the other day as I was taking my other two kiddos to school. And all of a sudden it made me start crying because I was, I don't know. I don't really know why it got to me the way that it did. But so grief, I know, can still hit you in an instant. But there are most days that I can feel like the Lord is carrying that heavy load for me instead of me having to carry it on my own.
Yeah, I think for us, I don't think on this side of eternity will ever be completely healed. There's healing that comes, but we definitely have our hard days. But for us, serving other people and bringing hope to other people,
Yeah.
kind of like y'all do with this show, and just trying to find the place where we can serve, where God has called us to, in order to bring a little bit of hope and life to others, help them take the next step on the journey, I think helps us navigate our grief
Mm.
as well. And it's just a beautiful thing is when we give ourselves away,
Yeah.
God renews and restores and heals places within us through that.
Right. That's so good. So how can others get involved? I know we talked about, getting involved in different support groups. Is that just them sending an email and letting someone know that they want to get involved, or can churches host you guys how does that all work?
Yeah, well, we're happy to come and speak anywhere, anytime.
Okay. Okay.
We do have, actually, there's a tab on our website, liveandloveministries.com, where you can request for us to come and actually speak at an event or something like that. But as far as the bereaved parent support groups and bereaved parent retreats, all of that information can be found on that whilewe'rewaiting.org website.
Okay.
And they have a way to, contact them as well. And we know the Sullivans and Browns, the founders of that ministry, really well. And so they do a great job of contacting people back about information or anything like that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're always happy to speak or share any information, with anybody who needs it. You can contact us, like I said, through the Live and Love website, or that's probably the easiest way to get us.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, if you're interested in taking an international trip to Nicaragua, we go every June. Every
Okay.
June we go, and our team this year is about full, but we'll go every year. And if that's something that somebody would be interested in looking into, reach out. For
Okay.
sure, reach out and let's have a conversation.
Hey, Nicaragua, I went in 2010, so it's been a long time ago, but man, there's some beautiful people there. Beautiful people. It changed my life. That was my first international mission trip.
We love our Nicaraguan family for sure.
Oh.
And just real quick, I'll put a plug in real quick for the organization that oversees the Katie Beth Carter Memorial School down there, LB4C. You can find them online with more information about the school and everything down there. They do everything from student sponsorships to, if you want to bring a team down there yourself. So you can go to lb4c.org to find more information about that.
Wow. Okay. So y'all have a lot going on, and you both are still full-time employees. So I don't know how you do all this. But
Oh yeah.
so what's one thing?
Our March,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were saying our hearts.
It's crazy. We were just talking about that last night. We are very busy people, but we love doing what we do.
I love that. Well, and we thank you for it. So what's one thing, if you can think of just one thing, what's one thing that Katie Beth changed about your life?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a hard question.
I know. I'm sorry.
I think that changes, the more I reflect and the more time that we get away, the further the distance is from her accident and her going to heaven. I guess that changes. I think about it more and more. But I would say in a world, especially in America, that is so divided and it's so diverse, and we're divided on so many places, so many levels. The one thing I think Katie has taught me, maybe more since she's been gone to heaven than she did when she was here, even though she did it while she was here, is that everyone deserves a seat at the table. And everyone deserves to be loved well. And it doesn't matter if I agree with them or disagree with them, because that's who Jesus was. And she did that really, really well. And it was very evident through some of those stories that we learned after. So for me, she has just really taught me how to love people better.
That's so good. I think we could all, take that from Katie Beth. And in y'all's book, I feel like that's definitely one thing that I picked up on that was very inspiring from what y'all shared about Katie Beth and some of those stories that were mentioned in your book of just, it didn't seem to matter, skin color, belief, religion, status, it seemed like Katie Beth was going to be someone's friend no matter what. So I think we can all learn from that. And you guys, I really appreciate you being on the program and coming to talk about your girl and y'all's ministry and book and so many other things. And I just really appreciate it. I hope we can inspire some people to get involved. I know I've been inspired, and I hope we hear from y'all again.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Hannah's Heart. Don't forget to go back and listen to part 1 if you haven't been able to do that yet. And we will see you guys again next week on Hannah's Heart. Thank you.